what's magnificent about that place is that the perception of the brand, even then, like the Chiefs were a big deal long before Patrick Mahomes, right? And Andy Reid. The Chiefs are a big deal. It's the NFL. And the perception of that brand is every bit in the mind of a normal human from a business operator. Like it must take, because like this huge business. And then in the business, it's a small family company. Clark and his family run the business. There's only like a non-football. Okay, so the football team is its own thing in operation that takes a lot of coordination and chemistry and talent and hard work and all that. But the front office side at the time was like 100 people maybe. And it's like it's this massive brand, and it's kind of like a small HVAC business.
In a corporate world where all employees have great leaders with no egos that create fun cultures where people can do their best work, the employees and companies thrive while doing great things for the customers, themselves, and each other.
Well, we know that rarely happens. I'm Jeff Palacio. I have been a leader for over 40 years for every t-shirt size company, from small 16 employees to extra large over 1 million. Please join me while I interview outstanding leaders that will share stories of great leadership and not so great. It will help you become a better leader while poking fun at all the crazy shit that happens in corporate America.
Hi, I'm Joe Deshawn, and welcome to the Corporate Couch with Jeff Palacio. Today, Jeff is interviewing Justin Ricklefs. Justin is the founder and CEO of Guild Collective, a brand consulting firm which believes that brands have powerful stories to tell, yet they often struggle with the most effective and compelling way to tell it. Prior to founding Guild Collective, Justin had worked in several positions in sports marketing, including 2 stints with the Kansas City Chiefs, as the Director of Corporate Partnerships and the Director of Partnership Development. You can learn more about Justin at guildcollective.com. Let's listen as Jeff talks to Justin.
Justin, welcome to the Corporate Couch this morning.
Hey Jeff, thanks for having me on, man. I'm pumped to be with you, and thanks for hearing my story.
Most guests I've at least met once via Zoom or face-to-face, but you're in that category of people. This is our first time meeting, so I'm very excited to talk to you. Corey Shear and connected us. I'm grateful for that, so very excited.
Yeah, I'm eager to get to know you, and grateful Corey connected us. Corey's one of the best connectors, as you know, in the city, at least our city, Kansas City. And so, yeah, eager to get to know you, and wish we were sitting over real coffee and real couch.
Exactly. Yeah. I knew I need to do a live event where I actually have a couch, like a talk show, and do that. But
lay us down on the couch and take us to school, bro. Let us take us to therapy school.
And you're up in Liberty, Missouri. I the last year I got connected to the Liberty Mafia. You, Corey, Carrie Rich, Kathleen Rich. I don't know. There's a bunch of people I've got from Liberty, Missouri. But anyhow, I digress.
Yeah, it's a good town.
So even though you're a pretty open book, you have your own blog, you're a great writer, you use LinkedIn to be very authentic and transparent. Even people that know you a little bit, though, Justin, what one thing would surprise them about you?
I think how freaking hard it is, man. Like I think no matter how authentic, I had coffee with a fellow business builder this week, and he, to the point of almost tears, was talking about, he's like, dude, people think I'm crushing it, and like the credit card got declined, the business credit card, not like the personal credit card, and the things that it's kind of a disaster. And so I think even the people close, it's like, it's hard. It is hard. And maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe it's just always hard. I don't know. But the birthing of a thing is a difficult endeavor. And I think no one is with you at 2 a.m. when you wake up and you're like, oh man, it's going to be like a total disaster or train wreck, even if that's not at all logical. There have definitely been moments when it was very logical and like legitimately almost a train wreck. But there's most nights when it's like, it's just fear running its course through your veins, and it has to make its way through. So I don't know. I think the honest answer is like, it's just kind of messy and hard and jacked up. And I'm doing my best to stay present to all of that. But it's hard.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. That's so, and we'll obviously get into your company and your start and
Yeah.
how you left probably a premier job in Kansas City to go out on your own. But yeah, so did you grow up in Kansas City?
Yeah. I grew up 88th in North Oak, the Northland, as people would call it. Some people are like, man, that's so far, like in the north of the river.
All
It's like,
Johnson
dude,
County
it's
people.
I mean, I was like, dude, it's like 5 minutes from whatever. Anyway, it's like, well, is that where the airport is? I'm like, well, kind of. I mean, there's all sorts of other stuff too. But yes,
Cascones restaurant.
Cascones, 100%. Yeah, we used to in high school drive. North Oak was like the cruising strip. We had like our old beat up Oldsmobiles, and we were running up and down North Oak. And yeah, Cascones was a spot for sure. Yeah, grew up in KC, youngest of three siblings. Have a brother who's 10 years older, a sister who's almost 5 years older. And yeah, we grew up and it was technically a Kansas City address, but we kind of geographically stamp it as Gladstone.
Sure.
Went to Oak Park High School, and yeah, man, there's a whole bunch there too. But yeah,
What was fun for you growing up? What did you love doing?
I mean, it's a pretty typical like quasi suburban childhood, right? Where mom and dad, up until they did end up getting divorced, but the like early memories were pretty like, we did the church ski trip thing, and we had, family dinner and went to Frankfort, Kansas, the lake with our cousins. And I mean, fun was honestly kind of the badge of my goodness. And the ways in which I found identity was being fun and being good and not getting in trouble and staying out of the way, and like kind of attracting people to myself, so that it covered up lots of the other. I didn't know this at the time, of course, but doing some therapy work, see how I like wore fun as identity and to escape pain, frankly. And so anyhow, but like loved sports, loved whatever season it was. If it was soccer, I was playing soccer. If it was football in high school, I played football. If it was basketball, I was picking up a basketball. Baseball was kind of the thing that I was relatively like big stair step down from actual excellent athletes in baseball. Like I was in that tier where it's like, dude, played baseball at a high level, all state, had some college offers and that kind of stuff. And ultimately accumulated these experiences through sports that shaped me and frankly kind of helped stabilize some tricky points in my family's personal story. My folks ended up getting divorced. My maternal grandmother committed suicide. I mean, there's just some really like tough stuff that I, of course, at the time didn't know how to fully process, and so I didn't, and I avoided it, and I ran from it.
Sure.
And so life, even in like a divorce scenario, like life looked pretty good. Not intentionally, but I played the part of, hey, it's going to be okay, everything's fine.
Sure.
Wasn't always fine, but that's yeah, to answer your question about fun, like fun honestly has become I'm a little bit hesitant towards fun now, because I used fun in so many ways as I kind of built into adulthood that it may have looked and appeared fun, and I was kind of disconnected from the deeper realities of myself. Anyway, that's a rant. You put me on the couch already, man.
Yeah, that's why we call it the corporate couch, Justin. It's all good. So, yeah, tell me, how old were you when your grandmother committed suicide?
So I was 8, give or take. I remember she was at a psychiatric hospital in Kansas City, actually. And back to the sports thing, I remember standing outside visiting with her and my family, and that she'd been allowed to like go outside, walk, and do some stuff. And I was wearing a bow nose Nike t-shirt, Bo Jackson,
Oh
and
yeah.
it literally like big bow, and the nose was in cursive, and then the Nike swoosh. Like they're just, side note, brilliant at storytelling and marketing, and they are my favorite brand and have been for a long time.
Yeah.
But my grandma, bless her heart, she was obviously having some mental challenges and was older, and she looked at my shirt. She's like, "What does 80 nose mean?" Like it's not 80, it's Bo. And she's like, "Who's Bo?" Anyway, that like portrait or, snapshots in my brain from, and my soul from, that was the last time I saw her alive.
Yeah.
And then there's a long story how all of that went down, but yeah, she ended up passing, and it was obviously very traumatic. Like, of course it was, to everybody, like my mom and my dad and my siblings, and certainly my extended family. And in some ways, like, still everyone's still reckoning with that to a degree. And her story has carried lots of significance in mine. But yeah, I was 8, and then that domino or whatever, I mean, it's worse than that nuclear bomb set off a series of events, which included my own folks getting divorced. And I'm not blaming any of that on grandma by any means, but that created this big gap and void in our personal reality. And all of a sudden I'm, 8-year-old to then young adult, like trying to figure out what the hell's going on and which way is up, and am I safe and okay, and are my I kind of wore the role of peacemaker, and perfect maker was my attempt, because it was such devastating reality.
Yeah, I see some similarities with that with my own upbringing. I mean, not to get into it too deeply, but my mom passed away from cancer a day before my 5th birthday. So
oh my God.
Yeah, so and my dad remarried about a year later. So my stepmom raised me, but I could definitely see some of that, kind of embracing, fun and being funny, and sports.
Yeah.
It was a lot of that for me also.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. That's so hard.
No, it's all it's all about life's journey, and everybody has their own. I always say everybody has their own baggage. It's just how big is the suitcase. I mean, that's all.
And how much of it do you want to show everyone?
Right. Yeah. How much? Yeah. Do you carry the suitcase around, or do you leave it?
Yeah, that's right. I had a good friend tell me once. He's like, "Man, you really like to just take shits in public, don't you?" I was like, "Yeah, because I think we're hiding our shit, like all of it, right? Like, not the literal or physical. That would be weird to actually do that. But the emotional and life experience shit that we all carry around and try to sweep into a tidy little corner is like, it's an exhausting thing to do." So.
Well, as a child, as when you were growing up, did you have aspirations? Hey, when I'm an adult, I want to be a professional baseball player, or a scientist, or an astronaut. What was it for you?
Oh, you nailed it. I mean, number one, you nailed it. I'm a lefty. We grew up in the era of watching number 5 for the Kansas City Royals step into a batter's box. And my sister is a lefty also. She played softball. My dad nicknamed her George. Which is like, every once in a while he'll still call her George, and it's awesome. It's because it's like, it was George Brett, man. It's like, that's the guy. And in fact, I don't know if all of this is exactly how it went down, but the story I've been told about my birth, I was born a little bit premature, not crazy, but I was like 5 pounds and something. The name that I was contemplated at birth being given was Brett, after George Brett. And my brother, as he should, was 10 years old, was pissed because he's like, "Yo, you named me Brad. Like, Brad's a great name, but like, Brad doesn't play for the Royals. How are you going to name my little brother Brett?" And so I don't think I was ever like formally named that, but my brother was so upset that they changed my name to Justin. And so
they actually changed your name, not
well,
legally.
Again, I don't know if I don't think there's ever like a legal declaration, but I think they're leading up to the birth. The conversations were like, "Hey, we're going to name your brother Brett," and all this stuff. And my older brother's like, "No, you're not. Hell no, you're not."
Right. Lucky they ran it by him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Much love to Brad and Darcy, but baseball was what I was like, kind of naturally was good at, and had this love affair with watching the Royals in their heyday. They've now since they came back and fell again. They're coming back. Go Bobby Witt. But anyway, George Brett was an idol, man. Like, a lot, the pine tar and the.
Did you play third base also?
No, I always thought that was weird because he batted left and threw right. I did everything left-handed.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I pitched a little bit, but my primary position was center field. I love center field. It's kind of yeah, just let me roam around and chase fly balls and
Nice.
pretend like I'll throw someone out and end up
Yeah.
probably throwing it way over their head or something.
So you go to Missouri, and now you graduated with a communications and media studies major. Was that your original major, or did you change it through the course of your MU experience?
Changed it midway. 2 years in, I was education, secondary education. I thought I was gonna teach, coach baseball, and be a volunteer young life leader, which is a organization of ministry that helped stabilize my soul in high school. It's a Christian organization, and so like in that 18 to 20 window, I was like, hey, this is what I'm going to go do. I'm going to teach, go back to Oak Park and teach and coach, do the thing. And got to this highlights my own inadequacies more than anything else, but got to the end of my sophomore year and we had to do this big capstone project. I can't remember what they called it. It's this big, huge project you had to like do first, pass it second, so you can get into the like accelerated junior and senior program for education. I was like, it was really long and hard. I was like, I'm not doing that. That is brutal. I'm not going to do that. And so I went into the counselor's office. I was like, hey, if I've got 2 years of credit, and I was self-funding college and borrowing some of it with loans. I was like, I got to get out in 2 years still. I want to do something where I can maybe make some money someday. What gets me out of here in 2 years? I loved Mizzou. It was wonderful. And I didn't want to do a fifth year. And I was like, I kind of like the journalism school. I had friends in that. The journalism is interesting and business. And they're like, you're way behind for those two. You should probably just do communications. I was like, okay, that sounds great.
Very
I was
strategic
like,
decision. A
yeah,
lot of thought
100%.
putting around it.
Yeah, 100%. Like, what's communications do? And they're like, well, you learn how to like communicate. And I was like, that sounds good. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So that literally was the decision point. And there's some other stuff there, but that was kind of the nexus was my avoidance of a big project.
Yeah, so you were in a frat, and I guess one of your jobs in college, you cooked for the frat. Tell us about that.
Your face told the story well. You're like, that's weird.
Well, no, it's interesting. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, yeah. No, it's
There's some good
uh,
stories around it, I bet.
oh my gosh, there's some good stories. Leslie Jett, he honestly, like from a business fundamental standpoint, this guy is on the like mentor Mount Rushmore for me. He was a younger guy. I mean, at the time, he was probably 28 or 30. I don't know. But he had built this catering business. He was the house mom at the agro house, like more of the like agricultural based guys, like the farm guys. And we got to know him and he offered a couple of us part-time jobs. And like the jobs were help him get set up for a wedding or a big catering event for corporate clients or whatever. He was running all of his corporate client work out of the agro kitchen. It was like this beautiful new fraternity house had this swanky ass kitchen. And so he was running the catering business and he was providing the meals for the agro guys. And so we started with like catering weddings and events and stuff. And then he was like, his business started growing and he picked up these other fraternities that wanted better food and better service. And he's a hospitality guy. He like loves the presentation and loves the intentionality and the specific nature of his cooking. And he was trained at Johnston and Wales. Like he's a legit chef. And so he brought this like chef mindset into a frat house, which is a bunch of dumbass knuckleheads who, are wanting like Fruit Loops and Bush Light kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, it ended up where he was paying good money relatively. It's like $12 an hour or something back then. We're like, dude, this is amazing. We had some flexibility on when we could work, and he built this little team and he called us sous chefs, SOUS. I was like, I'm a sous chef in a fraternity.
Wow.
Really random. And then we're making like some interesting and high end stuff, but for the most part, it's like, dude, just make sure from 11 to 1 that the chicken fingers are hot, that the fries are hot, and that the ketchup bottles got cleaned up. It was like just kind of some basic like service minded stuff.
Right.
Anyway, so Jet Foods was the name, JETT, and he went on to like work in the Air Force at the high level and do some executive chef stuff there. Anyway, he's a really cool guy. But yeah, I was slinging tater tots and flipping burgers to help make my way through college, and then I ended up working there like full time after I got my degree because I loved him so much. And it was like a natural, he's like, and he was like paying my health insurance and bought us a shop vac when we got married. I mean, all sorts of random stuff.
Wow.
He's a great guy, terrific guy.
Yeah. So you were married while you were in college. Is that correct?
Yeah, Brooke's a year, not a, she's a grade older than me. She's like 6 months older than me in real life. But she graduated in '02, and we'd been dating off and on for 4 or 5 years. And she was like, I don't greatest sales job I've ever done. She was like dying to get married. And I was this dumbass, really, like trying to figure out who the hell I was. And I was like, I want to marry her. Absolutely, yes. And she was like ready. And so we got engaged the spring of my junior year in college and married in the January break between semesters. So I was a senior in college that second semester with a wife who
Wow.
then as the universe and the Lord or whatever would unfold it, 4 months into our marriage, she gets pregnant. So like the May of my senior year, she's pregnant. I work at a fraternity house flipping hamburgers. And her dad is like this super successful dentist and is like, oh man, it's like this is something. But I remember when she found out, like we were literally on campus and she told me, she's like, I'm pregnant. And I was like, okay, like that's fucking awesome. Pardon the language. I was like, let's go. And we like hugged and we were done,
Wow.
21 or whatever,
Yeah.
22. And now that young woman is a sophomore in college.
They say studies have shown your brain doesn't fully develop till you're 25 years old, and for males, it's probably even later than that. You looked at the long game, and you knew Brooke was the one for you. And I know now it's been 20 plus years.
21 years. Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah. Well, congratulations. And you have 5 children, correct?
Yep. Yes, sir. Yep. We've got 4 girls and 1 boy.
So you talked about you graduate. You're still working for Jet Catering or whatever
Yep.
the company name is.
Yep.
So
Yep.
great. But you get involved at Learfield, and it's crazy that I was in a career transition in '08. I took a career turn. I was working in the mortgage business, leading a team of mortgage consultants and selling mortgages on my own. It was a complete 180 from what I did, and it wasn't strategic. It was just a grind, and then obviously that's when the recession hit. And
Yep.
but I said, well, what
The
do I
world fell
love to
apart.
do?
Yep.
And I'm like, I love marketing, I love sales, I love sports. So I started researching how to get into sports marketing, and I took a journey. And I had actually heard of Learfield, and I don't know if I'd met somebody from there, but I met some other guy, Fishbait Marketing, Rick somebody in South Carolina. But yeah, I had heard of Learfield. So you got into sports marketing somehow. How did you move from catering and sous chefing to Learfield?
As I like survey backwards, look in the rear view of my life, it's paved with people. The like big signposts are people, not like it's who's, not what's really. And Clyde Lear is one of those that's like big ass point on the journey, on the trailhead, even maybe. And Clyde but at the time then even generous, interesting. Frankly, I was like blown away by he was rich. And he was hosting a group of young life leaders, back to that organization, in Jefferson City, Missouri. We were all like Mizzou guys and girls. And he was on the board. I think he still is. And he's a donor of that organization. And so he hosted this thing at his house. And I'd like never really been to I say Jefferson City intentionally now because of him. Most people say Jeff City out of like casual quickness. And he is like intentional about, no, it's Jefferson City. It's the state capital of Missouri. You do not abbreviate. You don't call it Jeff City. It's like a slap in the face to him. And so I'd now call it Jefferson City. Anyway, we go to this thing. He's got this kick-ass house on this little lake. It's like this private community. I don't know if it's as big in real life as it is in my mind as a 21-year-old. He's got a hot tub in the backyard. this beautiful, like you walk in and you go down the stairs to this amazing basement. He's got a cigar room, a wine room. I'm like, holy shit, this guy has got it made. I don't know what he does. And you start looking around and he's a super like humble. He's not like a flaunty guy at all. But you start looking around his stuff, and there's like a picture of him and Bob Stoops at a Bob Stoops who used to coach at OU. And then there's like a North Carolina signed basketball that Roy Williams said, "Dear Clyde, thanks for everything, Roy Williams." And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And I just knew him as the like Young Life donor, you know? And so I start like observing and collecting and gathering the information in my mind. And then I get to start talking to him. I'm like, this is the most generous, interested in me guy I've ever met. Like, what is this dude's story? Where do you, and I finally was like, hey, like, what do you do for work? I didn't know how to ask it, you know? And he's really eccentric, and he gets all excited, and he like does his nose like this and scratches the back of his head. He's like, I get to work in the relationship business, and it happens to intersect with sports. And he goes, I don't even really like sports.
Oh,
And I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, can I work there? Anyway, so it led to, he made this generous introduction to, he's a friend still. His name's Mike Beheimer, and then Laird Veach. And he was like, hey, Mike runs the Mizzou property. He's about to get promoted up to VP, and Laird Veach is going to be the GM. You should go meet those guys. And I was like, I don't do that. And he's like, oh, I'll email him and I'll connect you guys. What's your email? So he like facilitates this introduction to this random ass kid he meets in his basement, who's like starstruck by his interesting sports stuff. Anyway, ended up like while working full time in the fraternity kitchen, interned with Mizzou Sports Properties, which is the Learfield division of at Mizzou. And I was like doing all the crazy stuff, like helping get the game day programs sold and getting, you know, doing all the stuff that interns do, like just fighting my way in. And got to know Laird, met him at a Panera in Columbia. And I had nothing but like, literally nothing but love of sports, which is actually a really annoying thing to hire for on the other side of it. Like when I was in the sports business, like people are like, I'm really passionate about sports. I'm like, cool. That's not enough, right? Anyway, they took a shot on me and they offered me this sales job, which tied back to the communications thing, for like $27,000 base salary plus commission. I was like, what's commission? They're like, well, that's when you get paid if you sell something. I'm like, how much do I have to sell to make a bunch of money? They're told me. I was like, oh, the lights started going off. I was like, oh, I can represent a brand and go talk to companies who make decisions and have budgets and like just connect the things we sell to the things they need. That sounds really fun. And I get to go to the games and like talk to neat people. Great. So anyway, that was my intro to Learfield was a person. It was Clyde, and he's still in my life. And I think of him as probably the top business mentor I'll ever have. And he ended up selling the business and transferring out. And the thing when I started had 13 properties, and it was like we literally had this map in Hearn Center, and it was like all of the Learfield properties. It was like Colorado and Iowa State and Kansas State. It's all this kind of regional properties. And now it's Learfield IMG, and they've got these massive ass, right, you know, 200 plus properties and all sorts of other rights and stuff. But I was like he'd already done all the hard work, right? And the train had left the station. But like I was part of those Learfield days when it was the little bit wild west, and like just the fertile ground of like watching a big thing happen. And so I was there for 5 years total, 3 at Mizzou, 2 at the University of Memphis. They promoted me to the associate general manager when I was like 26. I was like, this is cool.
Big
this sounds
title.
awesome. Yeah. Like, yeah. And I remember, I'll never forget it. Steve Gowan called me and he was like, we're going to bump your base salary to $55,000 and move you to Memphis. And I was like, $55,000? That is unbelievable. Like I couldn't even believe it. I called Brooke and I was like, hey, I think we're going to move to Memphis. She's like, what the hell? Where's Memphis? We had 2 kids at the time, but it was just such a beauty, you know, yeah. Like I did some stupid shit, but like in that season, it was just this, like, I was infatuated with Learfield and couldn't believe that they loved me and believed in me and cared for me. And in fact, I've told our guild team a lot, fast forwarding in the story, I was like, I'm trying, all cards are on the table here. Like, I'm trying to replicate Learfield for you. Like, I loved the experience as an employee at Learfield so much. It's such a meaningful part of my story that I'm like, I want you to experience what it's like to have the best job in the world. Not that not that I'll accomplish that specifically, but I was just blown away by the culture. You walked into their headquarters in Jefferson City, then it moved to Dallas when they got big. But in Jefferson City, had this like shitty ass receptionist desk, and they remodeled it once they made a bunch of money. But at the time, it was like this nasty old building, and it said on the back of the wall, it said, "Grow the team, build the company, have fun." And I was like, I belong here. Let's go.
Yeah. So, seems like you and Brooke, and I don't know how many children you have at this point, but you want to get back to home, home, Kansas City.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and you somehow navigate to interview with the Kansas City Chiefs, and during the interview process, you made one of the executives fall asleep during the interview. Tell us about that.
You've done your homework, man. I love that. Our third daughter was born in Memphis, 2007. Her name's Rowan. She's a sophomore. She's amazing. Rowan was born in Memphis, and it didn't go exactly like this, but summarize, concise way of experience. Brooke was like, "Cool, it's time to go home. I'd love for you to come with me. This is hard. I'm home with 3 young kids all day long. All of our family's still in Kansas City." She's like, "It's time to go home." And I was like, "Okay." And was making that 55 grand, right? And with some commission. It's like, I might make 70 this year. Watch out, world. And anyway, again, back to the who's. A who in my life was this guy named Jeremy Slavens. He's still at the Chiefs. He runs their kind of event business. And Jeremy, I'd gotten to know a little bit at the Mizzou, because he was like helping the Chiefs when the border war, I think they can't call it that anymore. They call it the border showdown. But when the border war football game between KU and MU was at Arrowhead all those years, he was kind of the Chiefs contact to like make all that happen, right? So we were at Mizzou going, "Hey, we want to represent State Farm or whatever else, whatever big client for this thing, and we had to work with the KU people and the Chiefs people." Jeremy was the Chiefs people. And so fast forward, when I'm in Memphis doing the thing and Brooke's ready to get home, I like call Jeremy. I see a job posting on Teamwork Online, which is a recruiting firm. And it said sponsorship sales manager, Kansas City Chiefs Football Club. And so I called Jeremy and I was like, "Hey, do you think I should apply for that, or would I even be considered?" He's like, "Oh, hell yeah, man. You've got the experience at Learfield. You've moved. You can throw your name in the ring and tell them, tell Tammy Fruits." I love Tammy. She's one of the most amazing bosses I've ever had. Brave, like dynamic leader. When you interview, tell Tammy that you know me. And I was like, okay. So I like apply for the job. Don't expect to hear anything back. Candace Westfall, who worked for Tammy, Candace is a good friend still. Candace emails back with like, "Hey, we'd love to interview you for this position. Are you available whatever day?" And I'm in Memphis, and I'm like, "Yep, I'll be there." And so get to Arrowhead, and like I grew up like it's like Derek Thomas and Joe Montana and Barry Word and Christian McCoy. Like it was like a deep affection. And I'm like, I'm going to interview with the Kansas City Chiefs Football Club, right? And so I walk into the stadium and like go, wait. And they're like, "Tammy and Candace will be right with you." And I think Tammy and Candace are like, goddesses. I have no idea what I'm about to expect in terms of like, they work at the Kansas City Chiefs. Rhonda was the like executive assistant for Tammy. Rhonda's a cool person. Rhonda's like, "Tammy will be right out. You guys are going to go to lunch for your interview." I was like, I'm like all suited up, like, 20, whatever, 7 or whatever it was. And they come around the corner and it's like, "Okay, let's go." And they're like fast paced, like walking to the car. I'm like, am I driving? Am I getting with them? Like, what the hell's going on?
Right.
I'd get in the backseat of their car. And Tammy is one of the most direct, like straight to it, no bullshit kind of people, which I deeply respect about her. And she just like peppering me with questions like, "Tell me about how you sell. Tell me about this. Tell me about your experience with big clients, blah, blah, blah." And we're going to we went somewhere like right off by I-70 and 291, like Independence Center area. I can't remember the name of the restaurant. And she's like, "Oh, by the way, Bill Newman's going to meet us there." And I'd done my homework. I'm like, "Dude, Bill Newman's the guy. He's like It's like Carl Peterson runs the whole thing, and Bill Newman runs the whole business side. And so anyway, long and short, to get to your point, Bill joins us at the lunch, and bless his heart, like Bill's a really savvy and strategic and smart guy. But like we're in this 4-person booth, and I'm doing my damnedest to like impress them and get the freaking job, right? And I look over at one point, and you know, like when your mom falls asleep at church or nods off a little bit. It's like Bill was doing that. Like he is just kind of like, and who knows? Like he might have whatever. I think Bill's great. This isn't a knock on you, Bill, if you listen to this. But he was like nodding off, and I was like, in my mind, I'm like, shit, not getting this job.
Right.
Let's just put this guy to sleep.
The podcast today is brought to you by Connect 5000, a Kansas City-based lead generation firm. If you're having top-of-the sales funnel challenges or are struggling to get into the door of targeted companies, go to www.connect5000.com and download our free ebook. In the last 14 years, we've helped countless software, technology, and consulting companies boost sales revenue with effective lead generation campaigns, sales prospecting strategies, and inside sales management. That's www.connect5000.com.
Anyway, and they ended up offering me a job like that very week. I was there like on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and then that Friday they called me with a job offer to come work at the Kansas City Chiefs football club for like $65,000. I couldn't even believe it.
Wow. So being a fan and then starting working for the organization, like it's like a restaurant. Like it could be your favorite restaurant. You love the food, but once you get a job there, then you see all the how the sausage is made. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah. What was that? What was that moment for you? Did you have one of those? Like, oh, this is crazy. Or
my time there spanned two different. Like I had a gap. I was there for 5 years. I went away for 2. And then came back for like 2.5. So I actually got hired there twice, which was really bizarre, and I was really grateful for all of it. But yeah, I mean, dude, it's what's magnificent about that place is that the perception of the brand, even then, like the Chiefs were a big deal long before Patrick Mahomes, right? And Andy Reid. The Chiefs were a big deal. It's the NFL, and the perception of that brand is every bit in the mind of a normal human Kansas City resident. They think it's as like, oh, it's like Cerner from a business operator. Like it must take people. It's like H&R Block or Cerner or Hallmark. It's like this huge business, and then in the business, it's a small family company. Clark and his family run the business, and I think there's now more, but at the time, there's only like a non-football. Okay, so the football team is its own thing in operation that takes a lot of coordination and chemistry and talent and hard work and all that. But the front office side at the time was like 100 people maybe. And it's like it's this massive brand, and it's kind of like a small HVAC business, right? Where it's like you wear a lot of hats. You work your absolute ass off. You are expected to be on, and I learned so much in that those 2 stints, but in the level of intensity, care, expectation of excellence that you're in, man. And for me personally, like I loved that until I started to erode. This is my own thing, not the Chiefs thing, but my own soul started to erode and cave, and my house of cards was falling in. It had nothing to do with the Chiefs. It had everything to do with me. But that it is a beautiful and an intoxicating environment, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a way that's when you're part of something at that high of a level and you see what it takes to be excellent at it. I couldn't withstand ultimately the pressure that I put on myself, but that system is very, very strong. And so, yeah, like back to your phrase, sausage gets made. It's like whoa, it's beautiful sausage, but it takes a consistent and lot of yourself to make it that way. And that's true for the Royals and Sporting and Kansas City Current. The sports industry in general demands, and certainly my experience at Learfield too, it to it demands a lot. And there's wonderful rewards for that. There's wonderful, like I got the benefit as a young, growing leader to have exposure to a network that I could have never got on my own.
Right.
I'm sitting with Bob Page, the CEO of the University of Kansas Health System, at a Super Bowl, talking to him about his business. And I'm like 30. I could have never like got cold called Bob and him returned my call.
Right.
But if I had an arrowhead in my email signature, damn right I'd get that meeting. You know what I mean? So beautiful place, wonderful leadership. Mark Donovan and Clark, that team and the way that they have organized their structure and clarity of responsibility there will be lots of books written about that. But I think it honestly, everybody outside talks about, as they should, like Andy and Pat. It's like this thing started with Clark and he brought Mark Donovan in 2009. Mark transformed that business operation. And I learned so much from Mark. And then he's, over time split, like Mark ran business. Brett now runs the GM side and Andy runs the coaching side. And of course, they all have like influence over the other.
Sure.
But the clarity of structure in that business now is remarkable. And of course, and the results helps that 15 plays there too. But the results of their business operation is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
You explained why you kind of left, but when you were there 5 years and then moved for a tech startup, heading up their sales and moved to South Florida, was that the feeling you had the first time, or was that the feeling when you came back and then left to start your own company?
Good question. The latter. The second time back, first time was a wonderful season of life personally. And then left and it's a whole long story that you probably don't want to hear, but left for that tech startup. And it was a family connection. And it was 2013. So I was 33, 5 kids, everything I had touched career wise had like rocket shipped up, it's like continue to make more money and grow the thing. And I'm now running the department at the Chiefs. I'm the youngest director, all this stuff. And I'm like, I didn't say this out loud, but inside I'm like, damn right. Like, fucking crushing it.
Right.
And have the perfect looking family and great Instagram feed. And all this was like, I'm just like crushing it and loved it. And this family connection, building this startup on the Salesforce platform. I have so much empathy now that I didn't have access to then, but I was promised like equity in the position and you can come help me grow this thing, build out this nationwide sales force. And it was like a $7 million annual business. It wasn't far from a startup. Like he had developers and anyway, all this. And so we like the big washing machine plugs, not like a normal plug, like this huge plug into the wall in Kansas City with like church, community, family, friends, and a kick-ass job. And we're like, unplug it.
Right.
Like, we're moving to South Florida. Different than like when LeBron did it, way less money. It's like we're taking our talents to South Beach. So we moved. We did. We moved to Palm City, Florida, with all of our kids, plugged kids into school, and my wife knew within 6 weeks. She was like, "This is a bad thing." Her intuition was very clear. She's like, "This is not good." Not that anybody was bad, but she's like, this such situation is not good. And I was like, oh, it'll be fine. Remember, track record. She's like, I'll crush it. We'll figure it out. It'll be just fine. And she was right. It took a while for her to prove her rightness. But in 13 months, I essentially got fired. There's a whole story there of why. But we walked outside of the office on a Monday morning after the sales meeting. And the owner of the business was like, how do you think this is going? And I'm like, not great. He's like, yeah, me either. Today's gonna be the last day. When I was the first time I'd ever been fired. And he was generous and like helped us get home and like paid a few months of salary. And he softened the blow, but it was a blow, mainly to the ego. Cause then I'm like, well, wow, I don't have a job. I quit a job with the Chiefs. I'm the dumbass. And we like limped back in U-Hauls back to KC. And now I have so much fondness and gratitude for that moment, because I think the pain is when you actually learn shit, and the suffering. But in that exact moment, I called Brooke in full tears. I was like, I just got fired. I can't believe it. I'm so sorry. And she was like, good. I'm glad we get to go home. And so anyway, so to answer your question, then that second season back, there was another job, came home, took a job. And then the Chiefs had this kind of rotation of their front office, and a new guy came in, and I loved him. He's still a good friend. His name's Tyler Epp. And Tyler was like, hey man, would you consider coming back and just leading the sales group and not doing all the rest of the stuff you were doing? He's like, I got that. I just want you to come in here and help drive some revenue and rebuild some relationships and come back in. And I was like, good number, salary wise. I knew it. Felt like riding a bike. I was like, I'll get back on the bike. And I walked back in round 2. This is me. This is my own stuff. It has nothing to do with anybody there. I walked back in. I don't know if she still works there, but Cindy used to work at the front desk, and she's a freaking stud. So sweet, really nice. Welcome to Arrowhead. And I like walk in, and she was like, Justin, you're back. It's so good to see you. We missed you. Like, welcome home. And I felt the only thing I can describe my inner experience with is I felt like I was manufacturing it. Like I felt disconnected. Not their deal, my deal. And I felt this, like I tasted a bit of what entrepreneurship looked like in Florida with that business. And I saw it with Clyde. And then I was doing my own avoidance of my life that I felt like an empty suit, honestly. You know that phrase, like an empty suit. It's like, man, that was me. And I didn't have language to put to it at that point. And this went on for a couple of years like this. And I was like, we did the Community America deal. Like I performed. I did the, nobody asked me to, but I did the dance. I got the applause. I played the role to perfection, drove a bunch of revenue, and the whole time was just a miserable mess. It was like literally driving in the middle of the day to a meeting, and I'd go like sit in my car and be like, what the hell am I doing with my life? Or like wander around Target and look at the clearance aisle and be like, I need some help. And so anyway, that second season was when I can now see in hindsight the soil was getting tilled up, ready for some different seeds to get dropped in. But it was just this turmoil and this like nonsense and my own undoing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what was happening. It felt like a new game I'd never played, and I hated that.
Yeah. No, so interesting. Are you familiar with the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks?
Hendricks wrote a bunch of stuff that I know of it. I
A
haven't
lot
read
of
it.
relationship stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
But he
yeah,
wrote
yeah, yeah.
Mackie Musavi and another friend of mine, Debbie Shadid, recommended
Okay.
this book to me, The Big Leap, and it's incredible. But it's basically 4 zones that you're kind of a journey in. So it achieves you in your zone of competency, meaning you could do it well, successful. But the highest zone is called the genius zone. So that's where you took the big leap from the zone of competency into starting your own company, Guild Collective. So 2017, you leave the Chiefs because of this disconnect. So why, you had, and really every startup is, you need to be good at sales, but like why the marketing piece? Like you kind of didn't really play in that. It seems it was more business development. So why marketing? And tell us about Guild Collective, because I love the story and the storytelling and the.
Yeah, you bet. I in February of 2017 was at this. I sound like a snob saying this, but it's just a true story. I was at the Super Bowl in San Francisco as a Chiefs employee, helping corporate partners have a great time. And in this VIP tent on this event we were at on a Saturday, this skinny little dude rolls in with his girlfriend and sits down next to me with a plate full of chicken fingers and honey mustard sauce. I'll never forget. I like look over at him. I'm like, they've got the world by their two. Whoever these two are is like cool and young and whatever. And turns out it's Pat Mahomes and Brittany.
Oh, shit.
And I quit my job at the Chiefs a month before. My last day was St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 2017, and they drafted him in April or May. And in hindsight, it's hilarious because it's like, damn, I worked there for a bunch of crazy, brutal years. And now they've had this like wild success. And
Right.
I cheer for them. And there's like a 2% part of my soul that's like, good night. I'm a dummy for leaving. Anyway. But what was happening then was I was expressing myself publicly in the written form on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff, sharing about all of this random stuff, family and emotions and my own experience and sales and leadership. I'm the opposite of a niche. Like LinkedIn, you hear like niche down into your like tiniest little corner of the internet and you'll crush it. And I'm like, from whatever, I don't know if it'll help my business or not, but I'm like turned inside out. And I'm like, no, here's me. I like to talk about high school girls basketball and the startup world and entrepreneurship and turmoil in your soul and disconnections in your life, like random shit, right? Like all of it. I'm just like a whole being. I want you to see my whole being, not the fabricated and manufactured, niched down parts of myself. And so I was doing that, and there's no real money in that unless you become like Brene Brown and write a bunch of books and build some stuff around it, which is beautiful. But then I'm walking into work in my suit and I'm sitting with leaders of organizations like Community America or Sprint at the time, rest in peace, now T-Mobile, or Coca-Cola or Farmland or Kansas City State Company, and it just kept going. And these leaders were looking to the chiefs at the time. That was my particular lens. And they're like, we have a problem transferring from like a traditional media environment to digital, right? In its most simple form. All of the power is now in our hands as the consumer. We get to test drive every car virtually before we ever walk to a dealership. We have all of the power now as the consumer. How do we connect? How do we tell stories that help us sell shit? They didn't say that directly, but that was the problem. And the chiefs, as they should, are looking back to these clients going, not our problem. You bought this thing from us. You go do, we'll help you, but not our job to like write your blog post or your social media copy. Hire an agency. And so we're not the first to ever do this work. And hopefully we're not the last. But there's this void that the sentence that kept coming to mind was every company has a story to tell, but most struggle to tell it consistently or effectively. And we've evolved that mindset a touch, which we'll talk about. But I read Story Brand by Donald Miller, and it's a beautiful book, and he's a wonderful thinker and an incredible writer. But if you like boil his book down into one sentence, it's essentially companies think they're the hero of the story, comma, but in fact, comma, they are the guide, period. And if you continue the thought, it's like the customer is the hero of the brand story. And I was like, yes. He put language to everything I was feeling. And I said, yes, I'm going to build a whole business around that, because businesses, not because they're bad or don't know how, but they kind of suck at walking the bridge between their shit that they're selling, but walking over that bridge from, we have a thing we're really excited about selling, to the audience at the other end of the bridge who only cares about themselves. That's all they care about. They don't care about you or your stupid product. They care about their pain, their pleasure, their life. As brands, if we can't speak the language of the soul, we have no shot, because people are too distracted. They're too busy. They don't care. They care about the stuff that's like stirring up in them. And we need to talk about that language so that, drawn back, we can sell the thing and grow the thing that matters most to the organization. So yeah, my resignation letter to Tyler was like, hey, I'm quitting the coolest job in the city to start a company that is going to help write words on behalf of others. And he was like, I love him. I say this because I know he was like, okay, man, good luck. That's really weird. Hope it goes well for you.
That's funny.
So yeah, we started a company, and we meaning me and my MacBook, in 2017 with we had kind of three, but really two freelance clients where it was all around writing words for putting language to their products that was like, you're not actually selling steak. Everybody knows you sell steak. Nobody has steak on a Tuesday night, okay, randomly. But people have steak on moments that matter to them, graduations, weddings, funerals. Like you celebrate or mourn with the steak. You don't eat it for breakfast anyway. So that was the mindset, was like, no, we're going to help you talk about the moments you create, and the steak happens to be the centerpiece of the meal. And would you maybe sell a shit ton more steaks if we talked about that instead of talking about your damn sale? Yes. The answer is yes. And so we've been on that quest to prove that hypothesis, and it's true every time and in every environment.
Yeah. One of the biggest influences, not only in my business life, but personal life, I love Seth Godin. I think he's a brilliant thinker. Yeah, I went through his marketing seminar during the pandemic because I had nothing else to do. I shouldn't say
He
that.
is the greatest of all time, and
Yeah.
exactly what we're just talking about.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, what you represent is what he, just constantly talks about. And
100%.
yeah, so I love that. I mean, so you're working for companies, and you talk about the Chiefs, and another great company you work for, Echo Select, great entrepreneurial, but now you're this founder CEO, and what's the biggest surprise coming from corporate America to go, oh shit, I need to do this now, and I had no idea I would have to do this.
The general arc is, I tried to out earn my avoidance of structure and systems. Okay. So part of the free spirit and the big leap part of my brain, and the like risk taking, put it on the table, let's F and go and build something. That's a beautiful thing. That's a brave thing that should be commended and celebrated for people who have done that. Underneath that, though, is like, oh, there was no clarity on financials. There was no systems and structure for hiring. I fired a guy on a Friday. He like got really sad, and I was like, actually, man, I'm sorry. Like, let's think about it. We'll talk about it on Monday. And I fired him again on Monday. Like, I was just a disaster. I don't mean this like with any shame, but just honesty. Like, the EOS principle, right, of visionary and integrator. I was doing both in a very haphazard way. Like, would vision cast and grow the business and drive revenue when the business needed that, and then I'd come in and like try and do my damnedest and work my hardest to like clean up the messes I was making, and I would make more messes, like wiping dirty mud on a dirty windshield. And I was like, we can maybe see. Let's just hammer the like windshield washer fluid a little bit harder, and we'll be able to see, right? And honestly, my freedom has begun to emerge with the revelation and escalation of Rachel Burnett's leadership in our business. She's our COO, bringing her into the partnership structure. She is hardwired for integration. She's an integrator. She's to create great wine. I used to drink so much wine. I don't drink anymore. I love good wine though. And I don't own a vineyard. I wish I did. To create great wine, everybody talks about the grapes, right? But you have shitty grapes if they're laying all over the ground. They rot and they die, and bugs eat them. But when you build trellises and systematic structure throughout the vineyard that is repeatable and clear and consistent, the grapes grow like fucking crazy. And they become more tasteful and beautiful than you could have ever imagined. And so she's the trellis. She could also vision, and she could do a lot of other talented things. She's really sharp and awesome. But Guild has started to flourish when I've gotten out of mess making and into vision casting and into revenue generation and into culture building and into all of the things that I should spend my time in. And back to Corey, I was like, I can just say it candidly, I was like bitching to him about a year ago about lots of random stuff. And he 4-axis me, he like quadranted me. And he's like, okay, top right is high value, high impact work. Bottom left is low value, low impact work for you. He's like, let's start plotting all of these. This is how Corey works. He just helps you make sense of some nonsense, right? And so bottom left was like all this stupid stuff. I was like getting caught up in drama, nitpickiness, and random stuff. Like, oh man, one client was mad about one sentence in a blog. Like, oh my God, everything's falling apart. Like, I just like, my controlled nature and me and my fearful parts were like hover to the bottom left. Rachel helps alleviate bottom left thinking for me and allow me to, I don't do it perfectly by any damn means, but to be in top right, high value, high impact work, which is conversations like this, which is friend building, which is network expanding, which is deal structure, which is client work, all of that. It's a long answer, but it's back to a who. It's Rachel Burnett. And when she has emerged in our business as like, oh, damn, that's what happens when you build trellises and systems and clarity and you account for time. We at one point we were a 14-person full-time team with a shit show of a financial structure because I was responsible for it. I was like, well, we'll just like hire more people and sell more shit. It'll be great. And then it's like everybody running around like no idea what was going on. We shrunk it all the way back down to 8, simplified our offering, clarified who the hell we actually are, who we serve the most, and who we love to work with. And now we've like gradually rebuilt the thing with actual like revenue associations per role, clarity. People get performance improvement plans if they're not doing great. Like it's just, we're running it like a business, and it's the evidence is beginning to show in some good wine, which is fun.
You're the second guest, at least that I know of, that has done 75 hard. I just interviewed and published Franny Goolsby. She's a
oh, cool.
And she did it twice.
And I'll probably need to do it twice.
Yeah, but I know you wrote about the experience, but how has that 75 hard helped you be a better CEO and husband and father?
The thing that comes to mind most clearly is when you start and are on the hook for a thing, the tendency to work to death. I've worked way harder these 7 years than I had good success, right? And worked hard. I'm not saying I cheated my employer, but like I never worked this hard. And so the tendency is, oh my God, it's all up to me. And I must bang away at all hours of the day on my laptop to make sure that it goes. You feel like you're proverbially always responsible for pushing. But growing in my 75 hard, to answer you directly, was a wonderful reset for me of like, get your ass outside, away from the computer. Just go on a walk. Don't bring your phone, or if you do bring your phone to count steps, which I now do, don't bring your AirPods. Don't listen to a podcast. Just listen to the birds. Listen to what it feels like, or experience what it feels like to be cold. Pay attention to the sensations in your body when you're scared, when somebody comes behind you, honks the car, honks the horn. So it was a time in life when I didn't really know what anxiety felt like. I know that sounds silly. I was so disconnected from my physical reality that when I started Guild, I literally thought I was having a heart attack in a couple of days. I was like, God, my dad has had a heart attack. I was like, what is this? And I went and got a heart scan, got put on anxiety medication. They're like, no, dude, you're not dying. You have anxiety. Welcome to being human. I'm like, this sucks. I don't want it. And so it's like 75 hard and some other just practices in my life have encouraged the presence and awareness of the moment. Because I think when you're building something, you're always like, not always, the tendency to quickly be afraid of some future event or regret and ashamed of some past event is always kind of available to grab onto and go crazy with. And it really does make you go crazy. And this is where I have so much empathy to the Florida experience, because he was super stressed a lot. And it's like, well, of course you were. You had a $9 million company with probably $7 million in payroll. Like, that's a lot. We have over $1 million of committed, we call them investments, not expenses here, investments in people. If Guild loses a bunch of clients, like, we have to tell people they can't work here anymore. That's a real thing, right? So anyway, all that to say, like, 75 hard has helped me. It helped me simply get outside and rekindle my love affair with nature. And so now literally every day I'm outside at least 45 minutes. And it's snowing today. I'm going on a walk at 12:30 with Brad Hill. We're going to go walk in the woods. And it's like, I'm calling it a meeting on my calendar. I have a meeting with Brad Hill. We're really just going to go walk through the woods and talk. He's like, hey, bro, it's snowing. And I'm like, good. I don't care. I got the beanie in the truck.
Yeah, it's interesting too because Franny, she's a badass. She 4 year starter at Creighton University soccer back in the day. She, so and work out, CrossFitted her. So I asked her about 75 hard, and one of the things what really loved for her, she goes, one of the things I found out physically from a fitness perspective is how much walking is okay to do and very good for you.
Yeah, no, I've become the old man. I'm like, I can't wait to go on a walk. And frankly, back one little quick aside, the other thing that um relationally, we'd probably do it 3 to 5 days a week, depending on the week. But Brooke and I walk together. Dude, marriage is freaking hard. I'd be a very hard person to be married to. I'll just say it that way. And so for us to get 45 minutes without kids and without work and without other shit, and just even if we're talking not talking or talking about simple shit or very heavy stuff, that rhythm and practice has tethered us to some good in our each other's souls, because it's hard, man. Marriage is a abnormality these days to like
Right.
stay happy.
Just I like to get great leadership advice from people like yourself, and two groups I like to have. The first is think back at your time at Mizzou and getting ready to graduate. What advice do you have for those young adults that are going to begin their professional journey and get their first job? What would you say to them?
The two things that I would tell them, one is learn how, I know this sounds silly these days, learn how to write well. Send a thank you email after you have an interview, handwrite a card, learn the gift of writing. It is good for your soul, and it's wonderful to communicate in the written word. It's never been more important. We email, we text, we LinkedIn, we do all this stuff, AI aside. Okay. Don't write it with a robot, write it with yourself. You write, learn how to write. That's number one. And then the second piece, we use this phrase in our business all the time. It actually came from, I got invited to talk to interns at the Chiefs in my second stint, and I used this phrase, "give a damn." I didn't create the phrase; others have said, "give a damn." Okay, we are trying to trademark it, by the way, but TBD on that. But this phrase of like, just give a damn about someone else. Give a damn about your work. Like, it just summarizes like mindset so well. Of if you show up and give a damn, you'll be noticed. People will be impressed. People will think you're reliable and trustworthy. Back to Corey's word, you stand for something and be counted on. It's like that best parts of a team. We're all talking about the Chiefs because they're so good, but it's
Yeah.
like that they're going to show up and give a damn.
Yeah. Well, the other group, most young adults out of college, they're individual contributors, but then you get that promotion. Now you're responsible for a team of people, and you're beginning your leadership journey. What advice do you have for that group?
For me, when I've been at my best and when I've been modeled it by others at their best, it is an empathetic, curious mindset, not a demand and command environment. Most of us have some semblance of the answers inside us. We just need to be asked to go on the hook for them. And so I think, and we do this at Guild all the time, like in very intentional ways. It's like, I don't know, what do you think we should do? And it's like, I don't want to make it. I really don't want to make a bunch of decisions. I'd love for Rachel and Chelsea and Courtney and Jeremy and Jason. Like, I'd love for them to make the decisions. Like, they'll step into higher levels of responsibility and ownership if they are empowered and encouraged to do so. So I think just the mindset is like, man, leaders don't know all the damn answers. At least I don't. But when you foster an environment of curiosity and empathy and allow others to grow big structures and roots in your soil, really fun things start to happen and culture starts to snowball in good ways.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you for that. Justin, you've been great. It was just wonderful meeting you. I love your
You too,
story.
man.
I wanted to
You
get
too,
into
dude.
Squids Pro Wash and you're meditating and journaling and
Oh boy.
Ryan Holiday, but that's another
Yeah.
discussion, I guess. So thanks so much for being.
I warned you, man. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it's all
It's been a
good.
wonderful
I loved
dialogue.
it. No,
Me
thank
too,
you,
man.
and have a great day. Justin was terrific. Just the transparency right from the beginning of our conversation, where I asked, what thing would surprise even people that knew you a little bit about you. And he just said, well, how hard it is, to run a company, to start and run a company. Nobody's with you when you wake up at 2 a.m. to help you. You're out there on an island. So I just thought that, and throughout, he was very transparent about so many things. I mean, to think about, like, he was with the Chiefs. And yes, it wasn't the Super Bowl Chiefs. He talked about the story the last time he left his job with the Chiefs in March of, I'll say 2017, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't.
Who shows up?
And he was sitting next to Patrick Mahomes and Brittany, who not yet his wife, at the Super Bowl, and he leaves later on that month, and the Chiefs draft him in April. And, he missed out on a couple of Super Bowls, but he obviously went to some. But what was incredible is he's a sports guy, started his career at Learfield, which, ran college sports. And what he learned from Clyde Lear, who didn't even like sports, but built this multi-million-dollar business supporting college sports, which was phenomenal too. But he had the job that most people like me probably would say, oh my God, I'm working for the Chiefs. I get corporate sponsorships. I'm going to Super Bowls. But he was so, he had left. He worked there for 5 years, did a brief stint at a tech startup, came back for 2 years. But he said even from the beginning, he felt disconnected. He felt like an empty suit. And he said the sports industry puts so many great demands on you, and you reap a lot of great rewards. But he said it just sucks
everything out of you.
Its energy out, and then starts Guild Collective. So I just thought that was a phenomenal take, and excited to see where Justin takes Guild Collective in the future.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. I was very much interested in how he described the Chiefs as being two separate businesses. That there was a business of the football side, and that's just coaching and winning games and building your team and everything. And then there's a completely separate business. It's kind of like a family-owned HVAC company. You compare it to maybe 100 people or so. But that side of the business is all about marketing and advertising and advertiser relationships and all that kind of stuff. Two completely different businesses, and it's something that Clark Hunt obviously has built, where he's built that both sides of it and built it very successfully. I thought that was kind of interesting. My guess is that most major league sports in America are run something similar to that. Now, maybe the Chiefs are a little bit better defined in how they run their marketing and how they split those two sides. But my guess is most major league sports have two completely separate businesses, and they're run as two completely separate businesses. And I think that's kind of
and winning helps your marketing.
Winning helps.
3 Super Bowls in 5 years. So
but even when the Chiefs were at least mediocre, they still sold out virtually every game that they were in. I don't know the last time that the Chiefs had a television blackout for not selling out the stadium. It just doesn't happen. So, but I gotta believe that there is a certain amount of patience that will eventually run out of the Chiefs fandom, but it's got decades before that ever happens after the last couple of seasons.
Yes. Based on the episode, what leadership philosophy do you want to impart on our audience today?
We are going to that great philosopher named Stephen Wright one more time. Well, one time Stephen Wright said this: anyone who says that their wedding was the best day of their life has clearly never had 2 candy bars fall down at the same time from a vending machine.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Corporate Couch. If you enjoy the podcast, I would love for you to take 2 minutes out of your day to rate us 5 stars and write a review. Please join me next week to learn from another great leader sharing their professional journey and insights.